Have you ever observed those rare souls who seem to wield an unspoken authority over their surroundings? They do not shout. They do not plead. They simply withdraw, and in that act, the world shifts. The air grows heavy with questions, pursuits, feelings, as if their quiet presence commands attention without effort. These individuals embody a strength beyond words, a mastery over chaos that reshapes the energy around them. Now, picture yourself stepping into that same power. What if you ceased reacting to every demand, chose silence over haste, retreat over outburst? What might unfold in your life? Peace, clarity, respect. What if this stillness revealed your true self, unburdened by others' expectations? Herein lies the truth. True authority begins where reaction ends. Saint Augustine, a pillar of wisdom, teaches us that our strength is not found in the clamor of the world, but in the quiet of the soul turned toward God. In his Confessions, he declares, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you." Book I, Chapter 1. This profound insight reveals that true power lies not in outward displays or endless responsiveness, but in an inner stillness that aligns with divine purpose. To withdraw is not to flee, it is to seek that divine rest, to reclaim your peace from the chaos of others' expectations. Augustine's life, marked by his transformation from a restless seeker to a devoted servant of God, exemplifies this journey. He understood that the soul, burdened by worldly demands, finds liberation only when it turns inward, shedding the weight of external pressures. This act of retreat is an act of courage, a deliberate choice to prioritize eternal truth over transient noise, allowing you to stand firm amidst life's storms with a serenity that no manipulation can unsettle. When you cease to be endlessly available, emotionally, physically, spiritually, the world trembles. People have grown accustomed to bending you through your reactions, your predictability. But when you step back, the rules change. Those who claim to know you find themselves grasping at shadows, their expectations unraveling in your absence. Saint Augustine, in his profound wisdom, warns of the peril in such attachments. "I was unhappy, and so is every soul unhappy which is tied to its love for mortal things. When it loses them, it is torn in pieces." Confessions, Book 4, Chapter 6. To be overly available is to chain yourself to fleeting things, temporary affections, shallow validations, surrendering your peace to their whims. You become a servant to the transient, neglecting the eternal peace that Augustine urges us to seek in God. You exhaust yourself to please, to preserve a hollow harmony, to cling to those who never truly stood with you. Each forced yes, each rushed reply, each flare of emotion chips away at your soul's vitality, draining the sacred energy meant for higher pursuits. Augustine reminds us that true joy lies not in the approval of others but in resting in divine truth. Yet, you pour yourself out, hoping to secure loyalty or love, only to find betrayal or indifference. What remains after such expenditure? Weariness that seeps into your bones, frustration that clouds your mind, a void words cannot name, a spiritual emptiness born of misplaced devotion. Augustine reveals the root. You squander your presence on those unworthy of your silence, giving endlessly to those who take without giving, who demand without deserving. This relentless availability erodes your inner fortress, leaving you vulnerable to manipulation and despair. You become a mirror for others' chaos, reflecting their unrest while neglecting your own. Augustine's insight calls us to a higher standard, to guard our hearts against the fleeting and to seek what is eternal. For every moment you spend on the undeserving, you rob yourself of the stillness needed to hear God's voice, to nurture your soul, to find the peace that endures beyond the world's fleeting demands. The cost is clear: your peace, your strength, your very essence. Will you continue to pay it? This is not a call to abandon the world but to honor yourself. Augustine speaks of a wholeness born of faith, a completeness found not in others' approval but in alignment with the divine. Silence, he shows us, outstrips 1,000 arguments. Withdrawal, when rooted in awareness, is not weakness but power. So I ask you, with unflinching clarity, how long will you dance to the tune of others' emotions? How long will you flinch at every prod? Perhaps the hour has come to sever those ties, to step into mystery, to let your absence reshape all. Embrace this Stoic resolve, for Augustine teaches that true strength emerges when you turn inward, seeking God's peace over worldly chaos. This is a deliberate act of self-sovereignty, releasing the need to please, standing firm against manipulation, and trusting that your worth lies not in their gaze but in your soul's quiet communion with the eternal. The world may resist, but your retreat carves a path to unshakable integrity. Consider the weight you carry when you bend to every demand. Augustine, in his Confessions, reflects, "My soul is too cramped for itself, and has no room for you, O Lord." Book I, Chapter 1. A reminder that overextending yourself to others leaves no space for divine guidance. To withdraw is to reclaim that space, to cultivate a resilience that no external storm can erode. This is not selfishness but a sacred duty to your soul, a Stoic discipline that mirrors Augustine's own transformation from restless seeker to steadfast servant of God. By stepping back, you assert dominion over your spirit, refusing to let others dictate your peace. The chaos of their expectations fades as you anchor yourself in silence, where Augustine found his strength, writing, "You called, you cried, you shattered my deafness." Confessions, Book X, Chapter 27. This inner turning is your shield, your fortress, allowing you to endure their disapproval with a calm that speaks louder than words. Let this be your practice, to rise above the fray, to find in solitude a power that reshapes your world, proving that true freedom begins when you choose yourself over the clamor of the crowd. If you hunger for truth, dare to subscribe now. Unseen Saints brings you the unvarnished wisdom of the past, delivered straight to today's restless heart. You were taught to be ever present, to answer swiftly, to appease, to nod when your heart screamed, no. From youth, you've been molded to believe your value lies in accessibility, as if your worth hinges on how readily you serve others' whims. But hear this, such availability is no virtue, it is a cage. While you deem yourself indispensable, you are drained, manipulated, discarded when your utility fades. Why? Because predictability makes you a tool. Others press you like a button for comfort or validation, then set you aside, indifferent to the toll it takes. You cling to the hope that your presence will be mirrored, that your ceaseless giving will earn you the same devotion. It will not. The world does not reward such surrender, it exploits it. St. Augustine saw the masks we wear to be loved, noting how we obscure our true selves to fit the world's mold. In Confessions, he laments, "Men go abroad to wonder at the heights of mountains, but they pass themselves by." Book X, Chapter 8. That mask keeps you tethered, smiling through suffocation, replying through exhaustion, justifying as if indebted to all but yourself. You become a performer in others' dramas, neglecting your own stage. Availability becomes self-betrayal, a quiet chase for approval that costs your peace. Augustine understood this as a deeper spiritual failing, writing, "My soul was a burden, bruised and bleeding, because it would not rest in you." Confessions, Book I, Chapter 18. To be always available is to burden your soul, seeking validation from the transient rather than the eternal. Those who demand your constant presence do not seek you, they seek what you offer, a balm for their unrest, a mirror for their insecurities. When you draw a line, refusing to be their crutch, their irritation betrays not your fault, but their loss of control. They thrived on your compliance, not your essence. The stark truth Augustine unveils is this: abundance breeds contempt. What is freely given is rarely prized. He warns, the good man, though a slave, is free, but the wicked man, though a king, is a slave, for he serves as many masters as he has vices. City of God, Book 4, Chapter 3. Your accessibility enslaves you to others' vices, chaining your spirit to their fleeting desires. Pause now. Reflect with Augustine's clarity. Who truly merits your time, your ear, your spirit? More crucially, who merits your absence? To discern this is to begin unshackling yourself from the prison of predictability, stepping toward the freedom of a soul at rest. Your withdrawal disrupts the unseen games others play. They prod your weaknesses not with noise but with subtle guile, thriving on your response. Augustine cautioned of wolves within and sheep without, Sermon 64, inner flaws exploited outwardly by those who mask their intent with false kindness. These are not true companions. They do not love you but the role you perform, a role cemented by your fear of losing their fleeting approval. Manipulation festers in the shadow of guilt, a silent whisper that you owe them your constant presence, your energy, your very self. Yet when you refuse to react, when silence becomes your deliberate reply, their illusions shatter like brittle glass. They no longer recognize the puppet they once controlled and are forced to confront the emptiness within themselves. Not all can bear this mirror. Many will turn away, unprepared for the truth your absence reveals. Your absence unnerves them, peeling back the layers of their own unrest. Criticism follows, not as a judgment of your worth, but as a desperate lash against your refusal to reflect their inner chaos. Augustine wrote, resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die, Sermon 3:14, a stark reminder that their bitterness harms only themselves when you withhold your reaction. By standing still, you reject that poison, refusing to sip from the cup of their discord. You become an immovable rock amid their storm, and in that steadfastness, you reclaim your sovereignty. This is no passive retreat but an active assertion of your dignity, a stoic refusal to be swayed by the petty dramas of the unworthy. Are you prepared for the fallout, for misunderstanding, rejection, the sting of solitude? This path demands courage, for the world will not easily relinquish its hold on your spirit. Yet in that silence, power takes root, a quiet strength that grows with each moment you choose yourself over their demands. Augustine's own life, marked by his turn from worldly pursuits to divine solitude, teaches that this silence is sacred. It is in this stillness that you hear the voice of God. As he reflected, return to your heart. Why do you go away from yourselves and perish? Sermons 311. This inner return fortifies you against the chaos, transforming solitude into a fortress of peace. The discomfort of being misjudged fades as you realize that true power lies not in pleasing others but in mastering your own soul. Those who resist your silence reveal their dependence on your turmoil, and their departure clears the way for a life aligned with divine order. Embrace this silence, for it is the forge where your resilience is tempered, preparing you for a rebirth untainted by the world's noise. Why do we yield so readily, react so swiftly? The answer lies in the energy of the soul, a sacred flame St. Augustine cherished as a divine gift, bestowed upon us to reflect God's light. In his Confessions, Augustine portrays this energy as a finite, holy resource, one that diminishes with every reckless thought, word, or deed. He reminds us that our soul's vitality is meant to be directed toward eternal truths, not squandered on fleeting distractions. Are you its vigilant steward, or do you allow the world to plunder this sacred endowment? Each impulsive reaction, each time you leap to defend the indefensible, answer a barb with a barb, or feed fruitless quarrels, drains this precious vitality. Augustine taught that resistance binds us. The more you engage in these petty skirmishes, the more you become ensnared in their web. To resist is to give the provocation power over you, tethering your spirit to the very chaos you seek to escape. Exhaustion, then, is not a sign of frailty but of misdirection, a failure to channel your energy toward what truly matters. In that depletion, you become vulnerable, an easy target for those who sense your unguarded light and exploit it for their own gain. Augustine's life bears witness to this truth. Before his conversion, he chased worldly pleasures, only to find himself hollow. He learned that true strength lies not in reaction but in deliberate choice, saying no without shame, holding silence without fear, watching before leaping. As he prayed in Confessions, "Grant what you command, and command what you will." Book X, Chapter 29. Act only in harmony with the divine will, for therein lies your soul's true preservation. Consider how often you have lost sleep to words left unsaid, replaying arguments in your mind, or fed ghosts of the past with your attention. These are not mere thoughts, they are thieves, siphoning your energy without return. Augustine warns us against such waste, for the soul's energy is not infinite, it is a sacred reservoir, meant to be guarded with care. When shielded, this energy becomes a quiet force, a presence that commands respect without utterance. You walk into a room, and your calm radiates authority, not because you speak, but because you refuse to be moved by the trivial. Unguarded, however, it leaves you fragile, exposed to a merciless world that preys on the reactive and the weak. To guard it, you must study your triggers with the diligence of a sentinel. Where does your calm falter? What words, what glances, what slights pull you from your center? There, in those tender places, your energy leaks, and there, you must stand guard, fortifying your spirit against the world's ceaseless demands. Augustine's wisdom calls us to a higher stewardship, to preserve our soul's energy for the pursuit of God, for acts of love, for the quiet contemplation that restores us. In On the Trinity, he reflects on the soul as a mirror of the divine, capable of reflecting God's glory when turned toward him. But when we scatter our energy on the ephemeral, on anger, on validation, on noise, we dim that mirror, obscuring the light within. To guard your soul is to reclaim your sovereignty, to ensure that every thought and action aligns with the eternal rather than the transient. It is a Stoic discipline, a sacred duty, because your energy, once lost, is not easily regained. So, stand firm and let your silence be your shield. The world roars with noise, empty debates, clamoring voices, peace traded for pride. Yet there lies a rarer strength, silence, not of retreat, but of lucid dominion. Augustine found in silence a space for transformation, a return to the heart. He urged, "Return to your heart. Why do you go away from yourselves and perish?" Sermons 3:11. In stillness, you see clearly, cycles of folly, webs of control, your own missteps. Such clarity threatens those who wield your reactions, for it unveils the patterns they exploit to keep you tethered. Silence, then, becomes a shield, a sacred boundary that guards your inner sanctum from the world's relentless demands. This silence is not mere absence of sound but a profound presence, a deliberate choice to step back from the fray. It is the refusal to be pulled into petty wars, to expend your spirit on battles unworthy of your attention. Augustine's own journey leaned on silence to hear God's call, as when he wrote, "Late have I loved you, O beauty ever ancient, ever new. Confessions, Book X, Chapter 27. In that stillness, he found not just God but himself, stripped of the world's illusions. So too can you, by embracing silence, rediscover your essence, unmarred by external clamor. Yet this choice comes at a cost. It distances you from those who prized your utility over your soul. To them, you grow distant, cold, even unfeeling. But Augustine understood that true maturity knows words are precious, not to be squandered on the undeserving. He reminds us, the Holy Scriptures are our letters from home. Sermons, 21. A call to seek wisdom within, not in the fleeting validation of others. Silence becomes the tongue of the free, needing no defense, no justification. It forces others to wrestle with their own noise, revealing truths they cannot face. Their discomfort is not your burden, it is their mirror. Moreover, conscious silence fosters a deeper communion with the divine. Augustine taught that God speaks in the quiet of the heart, away from the world's distractions. By withdrawing, you create space for this sacred dialogue, where wisdom and peace take root. It is a Stoic act of sovereignty, choosing where your energy flows, preserving it for what aligns with your higher purpose. In this mastery, you become a beacon of calm amidst the storm, unshaken by the chaos others project. Silence, then, is not just strength, it is freedom, a testament to a soul anchored in divine truth. Cease justifying your retreat, it speaks for itself. Those rattled by it leaned on your chaos, feeding off the turmoil you once offered. But the truest silence rebuilds you, tethering you to a peace beyond approval, a stillness that anchors your soul in the divine presence Augustine revered. To walk this path, be selective with your soul, guarding it as a sacred trust. For guidance, turn to Augustine's Confessions. Its wisdom lights the way to guarding your spirit, revealing how his own restless heart found rest in God. He wrote, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you." Confessions, Book I, Chapter 1, a call to turn inward where true strength resides. Knowledge alone shifts nothing if you still bend when you mean to stand, if you yield to every demand out of habit or fear. Transformation demands discipline. Pause before answering, letting silence settle your thoughts. Breathe before burning, cooling the heat of impulse. Depart before drowning, preserving your essence from the flood of others' needs. Say no, say not now, say nothing, and owe no explanation. This disarms those who would bind you to their tail, stripping away their power to dictate your path. Augustine's life teaches that such resolve is not defiance but a return to your divine purpose, a Stoic rejection of the world's noise. Augustine knew growth requires sacred solitude, a retreat to hear your own voice, unswayed by external clamor. In this quiet, you confront your truest self, shedding the weight of others' expectations. Watch who fades when you reserve yourself, who taunts when you hold firm, who accuses you of change when you claim your peace. These are not failures but victories of liberation, signs that you are breaking free from chains you once accepted. As Augustine noted, return to your heart. Why do you go away from yourselves and perish? Sermons, 3:11, urging you to reclaim your inner sanctuary. This solitude is not loneliness but a forge where your spirit is refined, emerging stronger, more resolute. The discomfort of this transition, guilt, resistance, the sting of estrangement, fades as clarity grows, revealing that your worth lies not in serving others' whims but in honoring the divine spark within. Through this rebirth, you rise not as a reactor to the world's demands but as a creator of your own destiny, guided by the silent strength Augustine embodied. Unavailability stings at first. Guilt whispers of selfishness, a subtle echo of old habits, voices from without call you harsh, accusing you of abandoning your duty. You've been shaped since childhood to serve others first, to place their needs above your own, a conditioning so deep that discomfort feels inevitable when you break free. Yet St. Augustine, with unwavering clarity, affirms, right is right even if no one is doing it. Sermon 64. Your peace is not a luxury but a sacred right, worth defending even as it confounds the crowd. This is the price of freedom, the initial sting of resistance, both within and without, as you reclaim what was always yours to guard. To say no to the world is to say yes to yourself, a Stoic act of self-assertion rooted in Augustine's wisdom. Your absence becomes a mirror, laying bare the wounds others hide, sparking rupture where false connections once stood. But from this breaking comes release, a liberation forged in silence. Augustine's own life testifies to this truth. His retreat from worldly pursuits to seek God transformed his soul. That silence works its alchemy, turning inner turmoil into stillness. What once screamed within, doubt, obligation, chaos, grows quiet, cleansing the spirit, healing old fractures. Solitude ceases to be a void, it becomes a presence, the unshakable strength of one whole unto themselves. Clarity replaces the fog of confusion, peace supplants the grip of fear, and fullness ousts the hollow want that once drove you. Augustine walked alone to find God, his heart restless until it rested in divine love, as he wrote, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you." Confessions, Book I, Chapter 1. So too, you return to yourself, shedding the reactive shell to become a creator of your own destiny. Those unsettled by your stillness sought not your soul but the role you played, a convenience they can no longer claim. Their confusion is your freedom, a sign you've transcended their grasp. You lose the fleeting, empty approvals, draining demands, gaining the eternal, a self forged in solitude. Misunderstood by many, you are revered by the few who see your worth. Scarce in your presence, you become unforgettable. This is the promise, a rebirth where you stand tall, no longer bartered for crumbs or ensnared by games, but rooted in a peace that endures. The path is yours to walk, and its reward is the unshakable sovereignty of a soul at rest. This is rebirth, spurning scraps and games for what aligns with your truth. If these words stir you, you are ready to prize yourself, even if solitary. Tell me below, will you brave misunderstanding, rejection, or the weight of solitude for the sake of inner freedom? Write, "I choose my peace," and declare your resolve. Let us see who stands firm, who dares to walk this path of strength and silence. Your commitment is your power. The journey continues. Watch the next video, for it holds deeper truths to guide you. It matters, more than you yet know. Until then, hold fast to your newfound resolve, and let peace be your shield in a restless world. If you enjoyed this video, kindly subscribe now. Unseen Saints brings you the unvarnished wisdom of the past, delivered straight to today's restless heart. See you in the next video.